My beloved child, the truth that is about to unfold is not wrapped in gold, not sealed with numbers, and not hidden behind a bank account, because what is coming toward you was born from something far more powerful. Your mother's tears, the kind that fall in silence when no one is watching, the kind that carry years of swallowed pain, unspoken sacrifices, and prayers that were whispered into the darkness for you alone. And as you listen to these words, something inside you already feels it, that deep pull in your chest that says this moment was always meant to arrive, because while the world thought this story was about money, fate has been quietly preparing a revelation that goes far deeper, a truth written in heartbreak and love, and the tears of a mother who never stopped believing in you even when everything else seemed to fall apart around her. And tonight, every breath you take brings you closer to a moment that will change how you see your past, your present, and the people who stood behind you when no one else did. Amen. There was a time when your mother sat alone, holding something in her hands that no one else knew about, something she protected with her life, not because it was valuable in the way the world measures worth, but because it was a promise she made on a night when her heart was breaking, when she looked at you and realized that even if everything was taken away, she would still fight for your future with every tear she had left. And those tears did not fall for attention or sympathy, they fell because she knew something you didn't, something that was waiting for the right moment to be revealed, something that would one day step forward and say, "This is why she cried, this is why she stayed silent, and this is why she never gave up." And even now, the echoes of those tears are guiding this story straight to you, because fate never forgets the sacrifices made in love. Amen. You see, while people around you were busy talking, judging, and misunderstanding your journey, your mother was quietly carrying a weight that was never meant to be shared, a secret soaked in emotion, one that held both sorrow and hope at the same time, and every tear she shed was a piece of her heart being offered to protect something far bigger than herself, something that would one day rise and stand tall in front of you. And when that moment arrives, you will finally understand why she looked at you the way she did, why her voice sometimes trembled, and why her eyes carried a depth that words could never explain, because those tears were not weakness, they were the strongest shield love could ever create. Amen. Somewhere in the shadows of your past, there is a truth that has been waiting patiently, watching you grow, watching you struggle, and watching you become stronger than you ever realized, and that truth is tied directly to your mother's tears, because every drop was a silent message sent to the universe saying, "Protect my child, guide my child, and bring this truth to them when they are ready." And now, here you are, standing on the edge of something that feels heavy, emotional, and strangely familiar, as if your heart already recognizes what your mind has not yet seen, and that is because love leaves marks deeper than memory, and your mother's tears left a path that leads straight to this moment. Amen. What you are about to uncover is not something that can be measured, spent, or lost, because it was created from something far more precious than money. It was created from the raw, unbreakable love of a mother who chose to cry in silence so that you could one day stand in truth. And as this story continues, every layer will peel back, every hidden meaning will come into focus, and you will begin to see just how powerful those tears really were, because they were not shed in vain, they were shed to protect a destiny that belongs to you, and the closer you get to that destiny, the louder her love will become. Amen. From the moment this story moves forward, you will begin to sense how every quiet moment of your past was secretly connected to something far greater, because while you were walking your own path, your mother was walking a far more painful one behind the scenes, carrying memories that no one else was strong enough to hold, and every time her eyes filled with tears, it was because she knew something was coming that you were not yet ready to face. Something that would shake the very foundation of what you believed about your family, your struggles, and the strange turns your life has taken. And even now, as these words reach you, there is an invisible thread pulling you closer to a truth that was never meant to be hidden forever. Amen. There were nights when she sat in silence, listening to the world outside, wondering if the day would ever come when you would finally understand why she protected certain things so fiercely, why she sometimes seemed distant, and why she always looked at you as if she were seeing both the child you were and the person you were destined to become. And those tears that slipped down her face were not just sadness. They were the weight of a promise she made to herself, a promise that no matter how painful it became, she would keep something safe for you, something that belonged to your future, and that promise was strong enough to survive every storm that tried to tear it apart. Amen. What makes this story so powerful is not what was lost, but what was preserved, because while others were busy chasing their own desires, your mother was guarding a truth that was meant for you alone, and every tear she shed was a reminder that love can be the most powerful form of protection, even when it hurts, even when it costs everything. And the closer you come to discovering what she was hiding, the more you will begin to realize that the pain you saw in her eyes was actually the shadow of a miracle waiting to be revealed. Amen. There is a moment approaching when all the small signs you ignored will suddenly make sense, the strange feelings, the unexpected turns, the way certain doors close just to lead you somewhere else, because all of it was part of a path that your mother's tears helped create. And as that realization hits you, it will feel as if her voice is finally speaking without words, telling you that every sacrifice she made was for this very awakening, this moment when you would finally see the depth of her love. Amen. Nothing about what is coming is ordinary, because it was built on years of quiet endurance and unspoken hope, and when the truth finally stands in front of you, it will not feel like a shock, it will feel like something your soul has been waiting for all along, something that explains why your heart has always felt a little heavier, a little deeper, and a little more sensitive than others. Because it was shaped by a mother who loved you enough to cry in silence so that you could one day step into something extraordinary. Amen. As this journey continues, a hidden chapter of your life begins to open, one that was sealed with your mother's quiet suffering and unbreakable devotion, because there was a truth she carried so close to her heart that even speaking it out loud would have shattered the fragile balance she was holding together, and every tear that fell from her eyes was a way of releasing the pain of keeping that truth locked away, waiting for the day when you would finally be strong enough to receive it. And that day is moving closer with every word you hear now. Amen. There were moments when she almost told you everything, when her lips trembled and her eyes searched your face as if she were asking fate for permission, but she always held back, not because she did not trust you, but because she wanted to protect you from the weight of something that was never meant to fall on a child's shoulders. And those tears you sometimes noticed were not weakness. They were the strength of a mother choosing to suffer so that her child could walk freely, even if only for a little while longer. Amen. What you did not know was that the very struggles you faced were quietly shaping you for this revelation, because the truth your mother guarded is not small, it is powerful, emotional, and deeply connected to who you are, and when it finally comes into the light, you will understand why she was willing to cry, to wait, and to endure in silence. Because some truths are so precious that they must be protected until the right heart is ready to hold them. Amen. The world may have thought it knew your story, but your mother knew a different version, one written not in words but in tears, prayers, and endless nights of hope, and now that story is beginning to speak for itself, calling out to you in a way that feels both frightening and comforting at the same time, because it carries with it the warmth of her love and the intensity of everything she was willing to lose for you. Amen. Very soon, the pieces will start to fall into place, and when they do, you will finally see that nothing in your life was random, not the pain, not the delays, and not the moments when you felt alone, because every step was guided by a mother's tears, leading you straight toward a truth that will forever change how you see her, how you see yourself, and how deeply you were loved all along. Amen. Before the final layer of this story reveals itself, there is something your heart needs to understand, because your mother did not cry for small reasons. She cried because she was standing between you and a truth so powerful that it could have changed everything too soon, and every tear was a silent act of courage, a way of saying to the universe that she would rather carry the pain herself than let it touch you before the right time. And now that time is drawing closer, pulling back the curtain that has hidden so much for so long. Amen. There were choices she made that no one will ever fully know, decisions that cost her peace, sleep, and sometimes even her smile, yet she never complained, because all she could see was your future, shining faintly in the distance, waiting to be protected until it was strong enough to stand on its own, and those tears you never understood were actually the footprints of love walking through suffering, leaving behind a path that leads straight to this very moment in your life. Amen. As the truth rises, you will begin to feel a strange mix of sadness and gratitude, because you will realize that everything she held back was not meant to deceive you, but to shield you, and in that realization, her tears will finally find their meaning, transforming from pain into proof that someone loved you so deeply that they were willing to endure the unendurable just to keep your destiny intact. Amen. There is something extraordinary waiting just beyond what you can see right now, something tied to your name, your history, and the sacrifices made in your honor, and when it finally steps forward, it will feel like a door opening inside your soul, letting in a light that has been trying to reach you since the day your mother first cried for you. Amen. Nothing about this revelation will be ordinary, because it was born from a love that refused to give up, and as you move closer to understanding what your mother protected, you will find yourself standing in a moment that feels both heartbreaking and beautiful, because you will finally see that her tears were not signs of weakness. They were the strongest form of love you have ever known, guiding you to a truth that was always meant to be yours. Amen. Now the story reaches a place where everything your heart has ever questioned begins to breathe with meaning, because the truth your mother carried is no longer hiding in the shadows, it is standing quietly behind every memory you ever had of her eyes filled with tears, and when you look back at those moments, you will finally understand that she was not just crying for the pain of the present. She was crying for the weight of a future she was protecting for you, a future that demanded patience, silence, and an unbreakable kind of love. Amen. There is a deep connection between who you are becoming and what she chose to endure, and that connection is about to reveal itself in a way that will make your entire journey feel different, because what she saved for you was never meant to be touched by fear, greed, or misunderstanding. It was meant to arrive only when your heart was ready to receive it, and now, as the truth steps forward, it carries with it every prayer she ever whispered through her tears. Amen. When you finally see what your mother was holding on to, it will not feel like a surprise, it will feel like a recognition, as if your soul has always known that something precious was waiting for you, something that explains why your life has been filled with lessons, trials, and moments of emotional depth, because you were being shaped for a destiny that required a heart strong enough to honor the sacrifices that created it. Amen. The power of this moment does not come from what is gained, but from what is understood, because you will realize that love, when it is pure, is willing to suffer so that someone else can rise, and that is exactly what your mother did, tear by tear, day by day, until the truth she protected was ready to find its way back to you. Amen. As this story closes, it leaves you not with an ending, but with a beginning, because now that you see the meaning behind your mother's tears, you can walk forward with a heart that is finally free, carrying not just your own strength, but the unbreakable love that was poured into you from the very start, guiding you toward everything you were always meant to become. Amen. As the final echoes of this story settle around you, a quiet but powerful realization begins to rise, because what your mother gave you was not something that could ever be written on paper or counted by anyone. It was a legacy of love that was built through every tear she ever shed, and now that legacy is living inside you, shaping the way you feel, the way you care, and the way you face the world, even when it feels heavy. Amen. There is a deep peace that comes when you finally understand why certain moments in your life felt so intense, why your heart was always drawn to truth, and why you could never ignore the emotions of others, because you were raised under the quiet protection of a mother whose tears carried wisdom, and that wisdom has been guiding you even when you did not realize it, leading you gently toward the person you were always meant to be. Amen. When you think of her now, you will no longer see just the sadness you once noticed, you will see the courage it took to love you so completely, to hold back a truth until the right moment, and to believe in your future even when it was uncertain, and in that understanding, something inside you will finally soften, because you will know that every tear was a promise kept, not a dream lost. Amen. This story does not end with a dramatic sound, it ends with a quiet certainty, the certainty that you were never alone, never forgotten, and never unloved, because even in her hardest moments, your mother was fighting for you in ways no one else could see, and that invisible fight is the reason you stand here now, ready to step forward with a heart that carries both strength and compassion. Amen. And so, as you move beyond these words, you do not walk away empty, you walk away filled with a truth that will stay with you forever, the truth that your mother's tears were the language of a love so deep that it changed your destiny, and now that you finally understand it, you can honor it by living fully, bravely, and with a heart that reflects everything she gave for you. Amen. Beyond everything that has been revealed, there is still one final layer that gently wraps itself around your heart, because even after all the tears, all the waiting, and all the silent sacrifices, your mother's love did not fade, it grew stronger, quieter, and more determined, shaping the invisible path that continues to guide you even now, and that is why, whenever you feel lost or unsure, something inside you always pulls you back toward what is right, what is true, and what is meant for you. Amen. You may not have realized it before, but there have been moments when her love spoke to you without words, through sudden clarity, unexpected strength, and a feeling of being protected even in difficult times, because the bond between a mother and her child does not end with tears, it transforms into something deeper, something that becomes part of who you are, and that is why this story feels so familiar. As if your soul has been waiting for these truths to finally be spoken. Amen. As you look forward now, you carry with you not just the lessons of the past, but the quiet power of everything she endured, and that power will continue to guide your choices, your relationships, and the way you love others, because when love is built through sacrifice, it leaves a strength behind that nothing can ever take away. Amen. There is no fear left in this ending, only a gentle understanding that every tear had a purpose, every silence had meaning, and every moment of waiting was leading you here, to a place where you can finally see how deeply you were cherished, and that understanding will stay with you long after these words fade. Amen. So as this journey closes, it does not truly end, it continues through you, through the way you honor her love, protect your own heart, and move forward with a spirit that has been shaped by something rare and beautiful, a mother's tears that became the foundation of your strength, and that is a story that will live forever. Amen. In the stillness that follows everything you have now felt, a quiet truth settles gently inside you, because your mother's tears were never meant to disappear into the past, they were meant to become the strength that carries you forward, and even when the world feels loud, confusing, or uncertain, that invisible love continues to wrap around you like a shield, reminding you that you were always held, always protected, and always guided by something far greater than chance. Amen. There will be days when you remember her eyes, the softness in her voice, and the way her silence spoke louder than words, and in those moments you will realize that every tear she shed was a message written just for you, telling you to keep going, to keep believing, and to never doubt that you are worthy of the sacrifices that were made in your name, because that love did not fade, it became a part of who you are. Amen. As life continues to unfold, you will find that the wisdom she carried now lives in your own heart, guiding you toward compassion, patience, and a deeper understanding of what truly matters, and that is the greatest gift she could ever leave behind, not something you can hold, but something that will always hold you when you need it most. Amen. This story, built from tears and quiet devotion, does not close with sorrow, it opens into a future shaped by love, because now that you see the truth behind your mother's pain, you can walk forward with clarity, honoring her by living fully, loving deeply, and carrying her spirit with you in everything you do. Amen. And so, even as these words come to an end, the meaning behind them continues, flowing through every step you take, because a mother's tears never fall without reason, they become the roots of the strength that grows inside her child, and that strength will stay with you for all the days yet to come. Amen.